Good afternoon and welcome to today's live session, which is called Level Up with AI series, Resume, CV, and Cover Letters. This workshop is being presented by Career Services. My name is Logann Todd. I am the Director of Career Services and Alumni Engagement for both United States University and Aspen University. So jumping in here with today's session, we want to talk about the different ways you can use AI tools for career development. Of course, given today's title, we are just going to focus on resume, CV, and cover letter writing, but please know that there will be more workshops in this session, and you are welcome to join those or watch the recap if you're interested, and it'll touch on a couple of those other career development topics like interviewing, salary negotiation, and job search. Before we kind of jump in and talk about all of the ATS or all of the AI tools, I really want to start with discussing the applicant tracking system, or ATS for short. So when you apply online to a job, your resume is actually being parsed through what's called an applicant tracking system. Employers really use this to manage the hiring process by weeding out unqualified candidates and really getting the right candidates for the right role. So you can kind of think of it as that digital gatekeeper, filtering out the bad eggs, only keeping the good candidates so that they can move them on to interviews. So what does an ATS typically do? So it is scanning your resume, it's parsing it just like very similarly to how a human would, trying to catch those keywords, key skills, key identifiers to the job posting. It's also looking at your experience, your background, and how it aligns with the role that you're applying to. It will reject candidates or rank them lower based on their materials and if it doesn't really fit the application, and vice versa. Ultimately, ATS really helps recruiters and hiring managers manage large volumes of applications quickly. So just know if you're ever applying online, more than likely your application is being parsed through this robot before it actually goes to a real human. So today we're going to learn how we can use AI to help you beat that ATS, get to the top of the ranks, and become a good candidate for the role and actually get to a human in an interview. AI is amazing as long as you know how to use it correctly and ethically. It's really great for keyword optimization. Sometimes we're looking at multiple job description or roles at different companies, and they're all a little bit different. And so AI can help you kind of parse through all of those, look at and highlight the key core keywords, phrases, responsibilities, qualifications for each role, and then help you tailor your documents, whether that's your resume, CV, cover letter, to the position itself. And so it's really great at helping you rewrite or reframe some bullet points that you might have listed or paragraphs explaining your experiences to help you tailor those to the job application. Something else it can do is formatting assistant. So applicant tracking systems can be a little finicky. They really prefer simple, clean layouts. They don't like any columns, graphics, fancy fonts. Simple resume style, simple cover letter style is preferred with these systems. So AI tools can help you convert your current resume into an ATS friendly or ATS safe format that will be good for each platform. Same thing with cover letters here. AI can help you ensure consistency throughout your resume, but also your cover letter too, highlighting different themes, keywords, maybe emphasizing something that's already listed in your resume. So using ATS for your application really can help you boost overall alignment with the role, but also increase those chances of getting identified as a good candidate, moving on to an interview. That is always the goal when we apply online or really apply anywhere for a job, is to get an interview. And so I do have some recommended tools here that you can check out when I send the copy of the slides after today's session, or if you're watching this online and you're interested in getting a copy of the slides, you can email me or contact Career Services and we can make sure to get you a copy. But all of these tools are free. So Resi.ai, Cover Letter Copilot, Resume.io, TealHQ, JobScan, and Grammarly Cover Letter Assistant are all free and available online. They're public AI tools and platforms that you can use for resume, CV, and cover letter writing. Now, Cover Letter Copilot, for example, Teal HQ and Grammarly are specific for cover letters. Teal HQ does have a couple other AI built tools within the same system, so they can help you with managing applications, a little bit of resume, LinkedIn in there. So Teal HQ really does have a lot to offer. Resume.io, and JobScan are all fantastic options for resume and CV writing. I want to highlight JobScan in particular. There is a tool within JobScan where you can take the job description, paste it into their platform, copy your resume details, paste it into JobScan, and it will give you a hypothetical ranking or give you some feedback on how your resume relates to the job posting. So really great tool there, but all of these are fantastic and all of them are free and available to you. But today, I really want to highlight the generative AI tools that are free and very mainstream in the public now. We have ChatGPT, we have Microsoft Copilot, Gemini, Claude, DeepSeek, Perplexity. There's so many out there. I recommend choose the one that makes sense for you based on your technical abilities, based on your experience. If you've never used any of them before, honestly, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, they're all very easy to use. Everything I'm going to show you, the prompts I'm going to show you in just a minute here, can be used on any of these tools. It doesn't matter. You might get a little bit of a varied response based on the different platform you're using, but overall, in general, the responses will be similar. I do want to highlight the do's and don'ts, though. This is very important. We do want to use AI as a brainstorming partner. The key word is partner. It's not the brainstorming mastermind, it's just the partner here. So AI can help you identify those key skills in the job description, generate ways that you can phrase items in your cover letter and resume or CV, and highlight those specific keywords that maybe you're missing in your document. And then we can also customize the outputs for each application. So again, further tailoring your materials to the job. Always review and personalize the content, of course, to ensure it reflects you, but really great for that customization, personalizing your documents to this specific job. Over time, you're going to strengthen your language, also your technology skills, but definitely your language use here, because having AI help you with your writing really does help you focus more on highlighting your achievements versus just listing what you did in the job. A lot of employers really just want to see the value that you added, not necessarily the job duty that you performed. And lastly, on the do side, we do want to fact check and verify everything. I will point out some of the AI tools I mentioned on the previous slide. Some of them only go back so far, meaning they only pull information from a certain date range. Some of them are more up to date than others. And so if you're including a job that maybe it's not updated on, it can include information that might not be relevant, right? So we do want to verify everything we put in and get out of AI, make sure it's true, it's accurate, it makes sense for you. Also thinking, would a human say this? A lot of times it can hallucinate or create content that's not real. And so it's really important that we be specific with our prompts. We keep fine-tuning the answers and outputs that it gives us so that we get the information we're looking for. Now, on the flip side, we don't ever want to copy and paste anything AI says, because one, as I just said, it might not be true. And so we want to double check that. But also, copying and pasting AI content is the same as copying and pasting another human's content. We're plagiarizing, we're copywriting infringements, right? And so it is considered plagiarism. It can violate relevant policies for the university or for the institution or organization that you work for based on those policies listed. So you want to be careful about copying and pasting content. We also want to be careful about using any AI generated templates. AI, if you ever just go into AI and say, create a resume for me, it'll give you a generic template. This template is not always the best, the first one that it spits out. But if you said, generate a resume template that is ATS friendly for this particular job, that's a little bit more information, then the AI tool can provide you a better template. But as I mentioned before, any of those graphics, text boxes, too many bullet points, weird formatting going on, the ATS will actually reject your application. So really important there. Inventing or exaggerating experiences, we never want to do this with or without AI, right? We never want to oversell ourselves or describe experiences that we don't actually have, because when it comes time for the interview and if we're asked questions about it, we want to make sure that we can provide information to back it up. And lastly, which is most important, is do not upload any confidential information. So no personal data, address, phone number, employer data, email, LinkedIn profile link. We don't want to include any of the information to identify us, our employer, or potential employers, or the university either. And two other don'ts that I recommend is do not use the first output you receive from AI. The first output is never the best output. We need to continue that conversation, fine-tuning those outputs, ensuring we have the best possible result, best possible outcome or output that we're looking for. And as I just mentioned, we don't want to ask AI to write our resume, write our cover letter, write our CV for us. The AI is not us. We know ourselves the best. The AI doesn't know us. So it's better for us to provide a little bit of content and ask AI to help you tailor it versus asking it to pull things out of thin air, right? Goes back to the other dues I mentioned. So really great as an assistant, but it's never you at the end of the day. So now we're getting into our prompts. And so I want to focus here on resume writing prompts. These are just 5 examples of really strong prompts. You can see that they're not very long. They don't include a lot of information. They're pretty standardized. But I'm asking the AI to do things in a certain way so that I get the information that I'm looking for. It doesn't mean the first output is going to be the best. I'm going to still ask follow-up questions, use my critical thinking skills, but at least we can kind of start here. So ideally, you would have some type of resume already created at this point in your university journey. If not, we can obviously work on it together in the career services office. We can schedule an appointment. We can chat more. But if you do have a resume, this is where we can kind of start. So we can ask AI, what key items should I include in my resume or CV if I want to do a certain job? And you can put in that job title. We're not giving it our resume yet. We're just saying, I'm interested in this job. What are some things I should keep an eye out for? And it should give us a really solid answer. Next is when we can start putting in our own information. So now that you know what are some key items, now we can flip it over to our resume. So here's my current resume or CV. You can see I said here, paste your resume, omitting any personal information. So everything other than your name and contact information at the top, we can paste it in there. If you're really worried about it, you can even take out the employer information, your date ranges, and just list your bullet points in the job title if you want. After you paste it, you can say, okay, what are its key strengths and weaknesses? What's missing based on what you just told me? So then it should spit out your strengths, weaknesses. It'll give you some different information based on the previous prompt we provided it. So now we can say, okay, great. How can I adapt my resume to apply for this job position? And we've already pasted our resume, but if we're just using this prompt for now, we could paste it again. So here we're asking it to think of what it's already told us, right? What are the key items for our job? What are the strengths and weaknesses of our current resume? And then we're asking it, how can we tailor this document to the specific job? If we want to be even more specific, we can actually copy the job description itself, paste it into the AI, and say, how can I tailor my resume or specific bullet points or key areas in our CV to match the job description or the employer qualifications? This is a really powerful prompt here because it's going to go through your documents with a fine-tooth comb and really highlight the areas in which you can enhance. Now, again, we need to make sure we double check our outputs, make sure it makes sense, make sure it's also true. It's not exaggerating things that we didn't necessarily do or skills that we don't have. And if you're in a position where maybe you're looking for a new job, or you are looking to maybe pivot a little bit, and so you can kind of back up here and say, I have experience in this, or even give it your resume and say, which jobs would be a good fit for me, or which of these experiences should I highlight more and why. And so I really encourage you to get in there and play around with it and see how the AI interacts with you and the types of information that it gives. I want you to get comfortable looking for those hallucinations or information that it gives you that doesn't make sense, because then you're going to strengthen your own critical thinking skills using AI, which will help you later down the road as AI is further integrated into your career and so on. So that's all of my prompt recommendations for resumes. And again, these are just 5. There's so many out there. You can create your own, but really think about giving it what it needs to give you what you're looking for, if that makes sense. So strong prompts equal strong outputs. These are just some examples of shorter prompts that are still strong. Now for cover letter, again, we never want to say, write me a cover letter, but we can say, provide me with a basic cover letter template, including an explanation of how to tailor the cover letter for a job and how to stand out. It does give us a pretty good, solid template to work with. Of course, we have templates on the Career Services website under the Career Resources section, but if you are looking for one in a flash, you can't find it on the website. If you wanted to see what Gen AI popped out, this is a good starting point. So then taking it a step further, paste your resume omitting that personal information, or maybe you just worked on your resume and you can say, now I want you to update this cover letter based on the resume that we worked on. And then you have a starting point there. Ideally, because you're using your own resume, the generative AI platform should be smart enough to recognize your writing style and write a pretty solid cover letter. I wouldn't say it's your final cover letter, but it should be pretty good going from there. You're going to take that, you're going to read it, you're going to go through it, make sure it makes sense, and add and tweak anything based on the information that you have. And again, one step further, if we want to tailor it to a specific job title or position at a company, we can ask it, what are some ways I can tailor that cover letter to the job at said company? If you already have a cover letter created or some type of position statement or personal statement that you have created, you can say, suggest improvements to my existing cover letter for said title at said company to better emphasize my unique qualifications and how they align with the company's goals. So then you would paste your existing cover letter there, omitting any personal information again, and see how it would recommend improvements. And so very similar to the cover letter, or very similar to the resume, but cover letter is a little bit more in-depth writing. It shows a lot more of your personality. And so I always encourage you, while it's a good starting point to use the template, you really need to take your time with cover letters. They are read, I promise you, and the ATS does read them as well, and they do use it in your ranking in the ATS system. So lastly here, I want to mention safe and ethical AI use. Using these tools can take some time to get familiar with or get comfortable with, and so it's really important that we know how to use them properly. There's tons of videos online. There's so many on YouTube on how to learn how to use different AI platforms. There's some really neat things that you can do, but really important that we know how to use them properly. We stay safe while doing it. It's also important to check your privacy settings and learn about where the information you put in goes. Systems like ChatGPT, Claude, for example, they're all public AI tools, meaning they're collecting data constantly. You have the ability to not support the model in your privacy settings. So you should be able to go into your account or whatever email login that you use, and you can toggle on and off training the model or supporting or sharing your data. You can turn that off if you feel comfortable. I mentioned this earlier, but really important that we understand and abide by university and workplace policies. So if you're currently a student, making sure you're familiar with the university's AI policies, including plagiarism, copywriting concerns, etc. And then when you're in the workplace, a lot of times workplaces will provide you with a proprietary version of an AI platform. So for example, if the company that you were to work for uses Microsoft Teams, they might have a built-in company-specific proprietary Microsoft Copilot that you're able to use and access, but know that the company also has access to everything that you communicate to the Copilot platform. So just important to understand. And again, I've said it a couple times now, we don't want to provide any personal or identifiable information. We have no idea where this information goes, who has access to it, what happens to it. And so it's best to stay safe by leaving any identifiable information off. And lastly, be authentic and be creative. The AI is super useful because it can help us do things more effectively, right, and quicker, but we lose a little bit of authenticity and creativity in that process. And so I always leave you with this is that make sure you're having AI work with you, not for you. You are still a human. You have your own unique thoughts, abilities, personality traits, and we really want to see those come through in applications. So I'm going to show you just a couple quick things here. I'm going to actually go to ChatGPT just because that's the one that I typically use the most. And I am going to show you, if I were to ask it to write me a resume, you can see here that it would spit out a couple examples. So it's saying, well, what are you interested in? What's the level of experience? I said, give me a template, right? These are very weak prompts, by the way, right? I just said, write me a resume and give me a template, but you can see it gave it enough to give me something. Now, as a professional, this resume template is not the best, right? We have a lot of weird spacing going on. We also might not necessarily include projects or professional affiliations on our resume. It really just depends on the industry, but it's really not the most optimized formatting. So I can say, can you create a more ATS safe template? So here you go. It's a little bit simpler. It has our bullet points, even lists out further in the template here. So that's how we kind of continue that conversation. Of course, my prompts are very weak, but you can see how the model works here. Now I will show you under your profile, under settings, this is very similar in Claude Copilot. You can go to your settings, navigate to your security and data controls, but you can see here under data controls, it says in ChatGPT, it says improve the model for everyone, and I have this as off. There are a couple other things that you can do, personalization, notifications, different security items. And so I really encourage you as you're using AI tools to just check on these once in a while. They do updates often, so making sure you stay safe while you're using these tools is important. So I'll show you similarly here. Now create a cover letter template. So it will give you a pretty simplified template to work with. And it does give you some examples. However, we're not going to just take this and run with it, right? We have to put some information in here. So I did want to show you just briefly how you can use it to have you create some type of template. But again, there's so many resources on the Career Services website that I highly recommend you check out. There's so many things that you can do, but I recommend just kind of diving in and starting with resume and cover letter building to see the capabilities that are possible with AI. So I will leave you with that. As I said on the last slide, have AI work with you, not for you. Use the resources that are available to you. I am also available to answer any questions. You can email anytime, get in contact with Career Services at Aspen or US University. But hopefully this was helpful for you. You learned something new and you feel more confident using AI in your job search.